Hey everybody, if this doesn't draw you in, this calf, a baby cow, drinking milk from a bottle on a farm in rural Wisconsin, I don't know what can. If you're listening to us, trust me, it is very cute. It's very moving. That's right, dad jokes in the house. Hey everybody, Tim Boehm here with the Tying It Together with Tim Boehm podcast. Normally a weekly podcast about the stories and people and kind of behind the scenes of politics, but we're on the road, Front Porch Politics across America. It's my TV show that is normally in North Carolina, but we're taking all across the country. We are going from New York to Los Angeles in a car over the course of 9 days, hitting 5 battleground states along the way. And oh, by the way, we're making the trek in an electric vehicle. We have had an incredibly busy time. If you're looking at this, this is the glamorous part of television, right? Everything's stuffed that we have into a small Tesla, and this is the glamorous hotel room. We're in Madison, Wisconsin, while I'm filming this. The World Dairy Expo is going on. We're actually going to go tomorrow, but because of that, you think it's like a Taylor Swift concert. Hotel rooms are hard to find. They're expensive. They're through the roof. This is the Taylor Swift of Wisconsin, the World Dairy Expo. All right, so folks, we have now gone to 6 states in the last 36 hours. Can you believe it? It started on Tuesday morning. We went to Pennsylvania, then we went to Ohio. We ended up in Michigan, and we're in Lansing, Michigan. Then on the way to Wisconsin, we went through a little bit of Indiana and a part of Illinois. We went around Chicago, ending in Madison this afternoon. So we have been on the road quite a bit. For those of you following us, we are doing this in an electric car. Why? Because it's interesting to me. I like to take risks and try things a little different. There's this big push politically to potentially move more toward EVs. There's also a push of people kind of resisting about it. In the meantime, less than 10% of people own an electric vehicle. I had never even sat in one before this trip, so we rented like anybody else would at LaGuardia Airport, and we're driving to Los Angeles, and we have a flight back on October 9th, and so we got to make it. So far, guess what? It's going pretty good. It's a little slower because you got to wait for the charge, but it's going pretty good. So here are the stats. We started this morning in Lansing, Michigan, 98% charged. We charged 4 times today. That is also, though, a little more than usual because we charged at the very end of the night to be fully ready for our next day. Because there was a charging place really close to our hotel. So we went 549 miles today. It's probably our longest that it's the longest that we've gone on this trip. There's about an hour and 50 minutes of total charging time. It sounds like a lot, but we did stop 4 times, and we've been incredibly busy trying to produce content much like this. In between that, going to the bathroom, walking around, getting lunch, it actually went pretty fast. We spent about $60 in charging fees through those 4 stops. You know, interestingly, today when we got to Madison, I wanted to go see a dairy farmer, and he was some 70 miles west of Madison, out in the middle of nowhere. And so there were no charging stations anywhere close, maybe within 30 miles in Iowa, but we needed to get there and back on one charge. And I'll tell you what, a couple days ago when we first started this, I would have been a nervous wreck. But day 3 now, and I feel pretty good. The computer, when you type in where you're going to go, it tells you exactly how long it'll take to get there, and it tells you what the charge will be when you get there. So I knew by the time we got to the farm that we should have plenty of charge left in the battery to get back, and that was the case. In fact, we had a little bit more than I probably expected. So, you know, we're doing a lot more what kind of topping off. Think about it in gas tank terms. If you had 3/4 of a tank of gas, but you wanted to have a full tank of gas when you left the next morning, went in and filled up. Well, we're doing that with charging. And that's what we did tonight. I charged up so we have a full tank, so to speak, when we leave tomorrow. So when we left this morning, we were still all the way around in Lansing, Michigan, the capital of Michigan, home of Michigan State University. We actually drove through campus on the way out. And I wanted to talk to some independent voters there. There's actually a group of independent voters that are, it's a national group, but there's a Michigan chapter. And Michigan's an interesting state because Donald Trump won in 2016 by, I believe it's 0.23%. And then Joe Biden won in 2020 by less than 3%. So it's kind of been one of those back and forth states, much like Wisconsin is where we are right now. But I wanted to know what's kind of on the mind of independent voters, because these folks are obviously going to play a huge role in the November election. So we sat down. It was a pie shop, actually, but it was kind of a pie shop that served coffee and pastries, too. And we met in a back room early this morning with three voters. Two of them were true independents. One definitely leaning toward Democrat, but has voted Republican over time. You know, when we started this trip, I thought we were going to talk about groceries and gas prices and immigration, the things that are in all these ads. That has not been the case. And this was true with these independent voters, too. They are concerned about issues like the future of this country and the American people.
Listen to their answer here when I ask them about the vice presidential debate. You can almost sense their frustration with the entire process.
Last night, we saw time and time again both candidates would start way off in terms of their talking points. And maybe toward the end of their 2 minutes, and start answering the question, and mostly never did.
I was very disappointed because of the lack of fact-checking. J.D. Vance stood up there and basically lied the whole way through.
I chose not to watch it, so I can't really say.
Why?
Because I thought I knew enough about each of the characters.
All right, so that's a little bit of the independent vote in Michigan. A lot more about that. We'll have much more on our coverage coming up on Spectrum News. But we had a beeline straight to Madison. And I wanted to meet with dairy farmers. Obviously, cheese, the dairy industry is a huge deal in Wisconsin. I mean, it's a massive part of their economy, and it's been struggling in recent years. A lot of people do not realize that. The prices for dairy farmers, it's not been great. So we wanted to meet with a dairy farmer, but he was all the way, so we had to go all the way from Lansing, Michigan, all the way over to Madison, and then another hour and 10 minutes west. And we were racing against the clock and the sun. I wanted to get some video because it's beautiful country out there. In fact, we drove along and there's probably 5-10 miles of windmills that were out in the middle of these farmlands, which have been controversial themselves. In fact, the farmer we talked to is not a huge fan of it, but it was interesting. So anyways, farmers out here say it's been a rough 10 years or so in the dairy industry, and they're struggling in some ways. They're a little worried about the future, and they want and need lawmakers and elected officials and candidates to listen to them.
There's a lot of things I wish, well, why don't they come talk to me about how this issue affects me, or what decisions are made in Madison and in Washington, D.C. help me in Southwest Wisconsin.
Is there a sense of that there's I don't know, ignored or left behind by our governmental institutions?
Somewhat. I would definitely say that I don't think it's ignorance, but it's lack of just the daily understanding of what goes on outside of the city limits.
All right, so that is where we are. We are in Madison right now. We're going to the Dairy Expo tomorrow. We're going to talk to a couple experts in this, probably see a cattle show in the morning about, what more politicians, candidates can do. These folks feel like they've been ignored, frankly, in some ways. I mean, look, they feed America, but the farming industry gets not enough attention. I think even as a journalist, I can firmly say that. And that's in my home state of North Carolina. We talk about that all the time. So we're going to go to the World Dairy Expo this morning, and then we're going to head straight to St. Louis, which is also a new Spectrum News market. So I'm excited to be there. We're going to head to the Arch. We got a couple irons in the fire to try to interview some folks. But if not, we'll probably go to the Arch and just talk to people. They got an abortion ballot on the measure this year. So it'd be interesting to see people think that might influence the presidential race. And then from there, we go to Oklahoma City. We're going to head to New Mexico. The International Balloon Fiesta is going on there, the Hot Air Balloon Festival. Cannot wait to see that. We're going to go to Arizona. Kind of want to go see Tombstone. So we'll see kind of what issues are popping there. Probably tourism, maybe border issues. Then we're going to head up to Nevada, maybe talk about some election issues. And then we're going to head to the Santa Monica Pier after that, hopefully. But, by the way, we got patience. Time's going pretty good. It's a little stressful trying to get the places on time with all the charging with the car. But so far, so good. We're on schedule. We hope to make it to Los Angeles when we need to be. You've been listening to Tying It Together with Tim Boyum, a Spectrum News 1 production, produced and hosted by me with a huge assist from our digital team. Holler at me with your questions, comments, concerns, or ideas for future shows, or questions you might have about this very trip. In the meantime, be well, be kind. If you can buy local, we'll talk to you probably tomorrow.